Good afternoon and welcome to the Comedy Podcast, episode 5. Hopefully only for 4 minutes. I thought I'd start out with a copyright warning. I'll just read from my notes. Unauthorized distribution of comedy podcast. The million or so viewers that I clearly have out there, you are not allowed to watch this on any other format but YouTube, and I reserve all rights as the author. You know who you are. Copyright law, also known as the law of diminishing returns, or the fact that you could produce an artistic work, millions of people could watch it, and you receive no royalties. So let the full weight of the law fall upon those who transgress or trespass. That's probably not very funny, but if you've got a secret list of admirers, they would probably appreciate that as an insider joke. Bad publicity is good publicity, right? Any publicity is good publicity. So, if you know what you're doing. And anyway, when do we all fall for this sort of line that, true power comes from massive celebrity stardom? Why do we always have to be known? Hang on, I'm doing a podcast. How ironic. Moving on to true TV stardom with Dallas, which I've just been watching actually. It's how I kind of like to spend my time studying popular culture in America in particular. Dallas, also known as the geriatric version of Dallas, 20 years since the show first aired, and I was phenomenally astonished by the fact that they managed to get all the old stars back. So we've got Bobby Ewing, who is, strangely enough, having several operations an episode, which is pretty much what Bobby Ewing did in version 1. We've got J.R. Ewing looking just as dastardly and with his hat and plotting away. So there's really not that much of a difference. We've even got Sue Ellen in there. And then we've got this sort of geriatric mirror for youth with the J.R. Jr., Christopher, Elena, Rebecca plot. We've got Cliff Barnes, we've got Harris, all your old favourites doing exactly the same thing they did before, just with some sort of age-appropriate and technological modification. Very enjoyable stuff, really. Last night, switching to other famous chains or threads, I went to a restaurant called Cow, which is a steakhouse, I think, from Argentina. And every time I eat there, which I do quite frequently, I think to myself, is this where all the steaks went? Because to me, steaks seemed to disappear about 10 years ago. And particularly when I arrived in the UK, I just couldn't find a good one. And this reminds me that the UK has come a long, long way when it comes to food. I mean, seriously, I have memories of when I first travelled here of eating a sausage that was could have been called sausage à plastique. It was a sausage wrapped in plastic, and that's how it tasted. That was the skin. I had fish a la sandpit, where, it resembles what we know today as a bird's eye haddock fillet. But the fish a la sandpit that I had looked the same, but had loads of grains of sand in the batter. And this was everywhere I went. Didn't matter if the place was a little bit highbrow, still had sand. Strangely enough. Another favourite on the early British menu before we were taken over by Master Chef The Phenomenon, and of course Jamie Oliver, Let's All Eat Healthy, was cabbage with mucus. It was definitely cabbage on the plate. I could see it, I could sense it, but it was wrapped in mucus, and funnily enough, it tasted like mucus. And the last dish of the day was mashed potato plaster, where you would sort of look at this mashed potato, which had the appearance and was advertised as mashed potato. You would eat it, put it on your tongue, and it would literally form a solid lump that you couldn't either pull out again or swallow back. So, those days are over. Good news, if you are visiting the UK, we are healthier, we are thinner. And what's worth remarking on about this is if only we could translate the concept of healthiness and thinness to things like our national debt, or communicate that to the world. We could show a healthy nation to the world perhaps by staging the most incredible Olympics ever, or we could have a world-class public transport system and healthcare system. Hang on a minute, we've done all that. So cheers to the UK, and thanks for providing me with excellent food.
It's Mr. 305 checking in for